So, Spencer, thank you very much for doing all of this. How you doing, dude? What's going on?
Good. I'm home for what doesn't ever seem like long enough lately these days, which I guess is good problems to have. I feel like Underoath is busier than ever as we gear up for this new record, uh, which is exciting for us.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, I mean, we literally were in Hawaii and Japan and on a boat, and then playing under a secret name, and before we know it, we had about maybe 2 weeks off, and I'm getting on a plane, and it's Sunday at 6 in the morning to fly to Perth. So
Yeah.
here we are. Yeah,
You're a jet setting man, flying all over the world.
yeah, it's been a lot already. But like I said, it's exciting because I don't think we've had as much I feel like everything you do is obviously hype these days, and record labels push things, and it kind of seems to all fall in its course. But this record seems to be getting a lot of special feels. Like it just feels like there's something special going on, and people are um, a lot more going on in the typical under oath world. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Can't complain about that.
And I think like to dig into the new record a little bit, I think it is an exciting time for Underoath, and like for me it kind of represents maybe like a turning point or like a shift in kind of a new era of the band. Is that kind of a similar feeling that you have, and with the guys like creating the material, did it feel like something new, something fresh?
It did feel very fresh. So when we got into the studio, like we didn't have our producer on the last record. We wanted to produce it ourselves, which is a big monumental thing for us to accomplish.
Mhm.
But it comes with its downfalls, just like producers come with their downfalls. But this friend of ours in particular, this is the first time we've had a producer that was younger than us,
Okay.
and he grew up as a fan of the band. He's a killer producer. He's
Wow.
fast and smart and brilliant. But that energy in the room of a younger guy that grew up listening to Underoath before he made it as a producer, him having that kind of like ethos of what the band was to him as a child, that kind of energy, I think, was a great energy to capture. We were excited. We got to just be a band again and not worry about the tech side of all of this.
Mm.
And I remember when we got to the studio, there was, we were all kind of going around the room talking about what we wanted to accomplish. And the main thing that I was pressing was for it just to be fun again. Like, I feel like Underoath hasn't been fun in so long. There's been so much pressure. The first, back in the original days before the breakup, it was, you had to like fall in every 2 years. You make a record every, so you write, record, tour, write, record, tour. It was very monotonous and planned out. And then after the breakup, there's just like pressure to always keep that momentum going of being the band that broke up and got back together. And
Yeah.
I feel like it was very freeing to just be like, we don't, not to sound cocky or anything, but like Underoath doesn't necessarily need to make new music right now.
Yeah.
We've got a 20-year celebration of Chasing Safety that we just wrapped up, because that was 2024. In 2026, To Find the Great Line, which is our biggest record, is going to have that same 20-year. We could capitalize on that or not. I'm not sure if we're going to do that or not. But there's a lot of things that could keep us moving, and we could have paused the record for a couple of years, but we were doing it because we wanted to, and we had something to say, and we were having fun, and we were excited. And I think that's when the time is right to make a record. Like, I don't want to go back into the studio with Underoath until that feeling feels right again. Like, I don't want to go make a demo with even though those guys are my best friends and I love writing music with them, I'm not there right now. Like, that was such a special process. We had so much fun, but we had a lot to say and a lot going on. There's a lot of different shifts over the last couple of years in all of our personal lives, or some of our personal lives, and the band and where the world is. And there was just a lot going on. And we went up and we rented a cabin in the middle of nowhere where we slept there, we ate there, and we recorded all in the same building, which was really reminiscent of how it was when we were young. Obviously, this is way more comfortable. But it was fucking awesome, and there's a lot of special energy in that record, in my opinion. And I think the underlying factor of it was that we were having fun again for the first time in maybe since Define the Great Line. It feels like, I feel like everything's always been a little bit painful with Underoath. Everything's always been a little bit of a, there's always push and pull in a band, and different personalities, and different cooks in the kitchen. But I feel like there was a lot more pull with Underoath, and that's what we always just think that's what made it special. But I don't necessarily know if I believe that that's true. I think what makes it special is that we all have different tastes, and we're all very capable of finishing songs on our own. But when we get on the same page, that's what makes Underoath sound special. Not necessarily having to be like fist fighting, drag out, cuss matching, like throwing cymbals and punching holes in the wall. That's not what's making the special sound. I think landing on the same page somewhere is this really thin line where we all agree, well, that's fucking cool. Wow, that's sick. And that's really hard to do with a bunch of people that are kind of, our scene can kind of burn you out, and being around heavy music all the time burns you out. And, we all love different things, but the stuff that we do all agree on is very thin. And I think when we find that, that's the specialness. So yeah, I think making a record in a good headspace and a healthy band was something I would love to do again, because that was awesome. But in your mouth, don't you look happy? Bury me where your secrets sleep. What's it taste like when you're lying through your teeth?
To your point about like finding the joy and the euphoria in making music again, I think that's really, really key. And you're at this point in your career now where, like you said, like there isn't a huge, I guess, like necessity for new music. So like in wanting to not force it, you want it to be something that is enjoyable, something that is creatively fulfilling. Like it's not, like the 2-year album slot cycle anymore. It's like, what do we have to say and how are we going to say it? So on that point, like what did you find yourself saying on the new record? Where were you pulling from creatively?
Well, I went through some shit in my life around the time we started to write Voyeurist, and it was for the first time maybe ever since life started to get real. Like Chasing Safety, to me, there's no substance. I know I've probably been quoted the most for bashing on that record. I'm proud of it. I love it. I love what it means to people, but there's no substance there. We were 18-year-old boys writing music that we thought sounded cool. To Find the Great Line, like from Define the Great Line on, there was a lot of turmoil in the band and in our personal lives, especially me. Had a lot of demons I was about. There was a lot of substance to everything, and this is the first record I've written to where the substance I was pulling from, I was on the other side of it, and I was looking at it, whether it happened a year and a half ago or 2 years ago or 3 years ago during this writing process of this record, or from when I started kind of dabbling, talking about during Voyeurist, I was still going through it. It was the first time I was like looking at it with a clear mind, not drowning in it and angry. Like I was like, I have some things I need to get off my chest and I'm angry about, and I have some things I want to say and some things I want to talk about that I wasn't sure if I wanted to talk about when I was going through some of the shit.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's pulling from, the record pulls from personal experience. You know, everything the Underoath writes about is always going to be real. Like we don't write fictitious stories. You know, we're not like playing a character or a role by any means, you know.
Yeah.
But that, you know, there's some anger in this record, and there's some, you know, guilt in the record about, you know, it deals with addiction and mental health and depression, and also some of the record is we're outwardly looking at the world and where we stand right now. I mean, I know you guys are in Australia, but America has been very all over the place, you know, and
Yeah.
there's a lot going on in the world now, and I feel like at our age, people that have lived through everything from 9/11 to the pandemic and everything in between, there's a lot of like, man, if you were to look at that on paper, like in a history book 20 or 30 years from now, if like let's say the world went back to, you know, maybe how it was in the 80s and 90s, like if you were in elementary school, let's go back to where, I don't know if you were born in the 80s or 90s, but let's go back to, you know, that era of time.
Yeah.
If you were reading this stuff in a textbook in school, you'd be like, man, what a wild time to be alive. Like when we look back at some of the shit that we read about. So I think some of that came into play of like, you know, yeah, we didn't live through World War I and II like our great grandparents did and stuff like that, but like there's been some fucking wild shit. Like,
yeah,
and I feel like, you know, a lot of it is it depends on how deep you want to get into conspiracies or theories, or how you feel, where your stance is, or just, I just look at it as a whole of like anyone in our generation, by what I mean by generation, like is like anyone going to these shows, you know, like from the youngest kid to the oldest guy that was ever a part of this scene or like in this era of time, not like necessarily a 40-year-old or a 30-year-old or a 20-year-old, like just this whole time that we've kind of, you know, even if you're born in 2000, like any of the stuff that we've all been going through and seen, and like, you know, it just seems like the world's in a really weird place, and like most of the time we don't get told the truth. So it's kind of angering, and it just kind of like also feels somewhat like we could live through anything but like a atomic bomb. You know what I mean? It feels like kind of bring it on in a way, like fuck all you guys, like let's help each other and head straight towards it instead of running away from all this stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of different topics on the record, but it's not a concept record by any means. It's just I think it's just been life over the last five plus years, you know, just kind of like this is what's been going on, and we've got some stuff to talk about, you know.
Beautiful people are taken, roaming your eyes, we remember our own. Two fingers pressed against my neck, I wish I could just trust my friend. Instead of such a wasted space, my God, it never ends. Too damn bad, I can't get it off.
Kind of to your point, like I was born in the late 80s, so I'm like 36 now. So like definitely lived through all of those things that you were talking about. And I think like the time that I like very like astutely felt the process of aging was when I was at university, and one of the lecturers was like, "Oh, who remembers 9/11?" And out of everyone in the room, it was like the lecturer and myself and maybe one other person that was like actually alive when it happened. And I was like, oh fuck, I'm old. Oh shit. And like it was like a very visceral reaction to me. I guess like on that note, you mentioned before the producer for the new record being a younger guy and being a fan of the band. What was that like to you to like bring someone into the inner circle for Underoath, but to have them be of a different, you know, generation, and to really kind of have a different relationship with Underoath than you? Like, is that, describe that for me?
It's a friend that we all knew. He had produced some stuff. Aaron had worked with him before, and then Aaron made friends with him working on some I don't remember what song he was working on, but I think it might have been Charlotte Sands because he produced her. He's produced a bunch of other stuff as well. I don't quote me on that, but me and Aaron we were just bored and we wanted to work on a song, so we like wrote a song. It ended up making it to the record, but me and Aaron and Dana, who's the kid's name, who recorded the record and produced it. And a lot of times me and Aaron have done that where we write, we bring songs to the band or whatever, and we've done that ever since the rebirth of this band a lot. And this was one of those scenarios, the only time it's ever happened, where I was like, dude, the vibe is so awesome. I just wish the other guys were here. Because they were always kind of anti, spreading their wings in a way. I think they were used to like, it was either Matt Goldman or Adam D or no one, and that was the old school era. That was before things were as fast as they move now. And a lot of those guys took time away from music when Underoath was broken up. Aaron and I separately we never have stopped since we started, and we were both spreading our wings in different ways and knew the benefits of working with different people. And like, everyone's got a different approach. You can learn something, you can capture something you would never think to capture. You can completely waste your time. There's lots of different ways that it could happen. But when we were in the room with Dana, Dana and Aaron were just fucking around. Like, I just wanted to write a song that had a certain feel to it. And about like 2 hours into it, I just kept looking at Aaron. I was like, God, I just wish the dudes were here. Like, I wish the guys were here. So we brought it up as like, hey, why don't we? I think this record would benefit from having someone in the room that's not us. Ruffled a lot of feathers within the internal camp. And then the minute that they set foot in the room, it was like a trial period. Like, let's go to the cabin where we were writing this record and let's spend like a couple of days and see how it goes. And day one, everyone's like, he's our guy. This is our guy. And he's just a lovable guy. He's got a great energy about him. He's super talented. He's very fast. And we just had a good vibe. And I think he was into a lot of the things that we were talking about. It's like, it's not a sound that we're going for, it's a feeling. Right? I feel like a lot of our scene has gotten really watered down and sounds the same to me. And even though people are tuning 8 strings as low as they can go, and the breakdowns are syncopated on beat detector and a computer, that nothing sounds real. It fucking sounds out of this world, because it is out of this world. And it still doesn't give me the feeling I got like the first time I heard like Botch or Converge or I saw Dillinger Escape Plan live. Like, there's a certain feeling, like even early Slipknot, like this anxiety or uncertainty, almost frightened feeling that heavy music used to give you when it wasn't so turned into a machine to make a hit, to make it to arenas. Music, which to each their own. I'm not bashing anyone, but to me, I write all sorts of music. I love music. I go to shows when I'm not on tour. I love music. I love almost all different genres. But when it comes to heavy music, I've got to feel it. I got to feel something. And without reading the lyrics, like I want to catch a line, and go, oh my God. Or even it's just like, even if I can't understand what he's saying, sometimes it just gives your body, you know what I'm talking about. You wouldn't be talking to me. You wouldn't have a podcast probably if you hadn't felt those feelings of like, overtakes your body. There's some sort of feeling there. I don't know if it's the guitar or it's the band or it's the vocalist or it's all of it, but there is a feeling. And Dana
I felt that feeling with your music, to be perfectly real with you. Like, that's listening to Find the Great Line for the first time. I was like, oh shit, like this is a fucking visceral experience that I'm having. So no, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. So we were talking about a feeling, and he knew that his, reputation's on the line too, being involved with Underoath and being a producer we've never worked with. You can get kind of ridiculed if you let the band go too far off the beaten path, but we were all willing to experiment and try new things. And I think there was an underlying, we want it to be fun. want to be fun to play. We want to be fun to listen to. We're hunting for feeling, not necessarily sound. And there was a lot of talk about the early heavy stuff having a lot of drum and bass influence, like early Slipknot, early Linkin Park, even, like Prodigy, a lot of that, like that early, before everything was made on laptops and in programs, like a lot of that drum and bass, like the sampling of those beats and all that shit, that maybe it was the lack of technology, but whatever it was, there was a certain feeling to all that made everything feel super fucking scary to me and like fucked up feeling.
Yeah.
And I wanted that feeling, and he was all about diving back into, and if you listen to the record, there's a lot of drum and bass on there, but that was definitely something we talked about, of like that element being more prevalent in our music and feeling like the song Teeth that everyone freaked out about, when we first released it, is like to be able to sample like 90s hip hop. Like some of those songs were like, we are sampling from a record and looping that as the song while we rap over it. And I never thought that would be something that we could do, but I always, like growing up, watching the Zoo York and Zero skate videos and all the 411 videos with all that 90s hip hop, like that sound to me was really important. And then I feel like when I fell in love with heavy music, watching all the skateboarding DVDs and VHSs when I was a kid, like there was that element of the sampling drum and bass that made it into a lot of the heavy bands that I loved. And that side to me was important to kind of tap into. And I'm super stoked that we were able to do that, and pull it off and still make it sound like quote unquote Underoath,
I think to kind of wrap things up here, because I'm conscious of time, I don't want to monopolize your evening, but I think listening to the new record, the thing that struck me the most is kind of how much certain parts of it really clicked with me in the same way that listening to Slotide did. And I wanted to ask you, like, did you find that maybe exploring a different avenue of the songwriting process with that project opened up a bunch of avenues for you to then take it into the Underoath space? Not to kind of cross-pollinate, but there does seem to be a lot of just like free experimentation on the new record that sounds a lot like what you were doing on Slotide.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that bled into it or not. I think,
perhaps the feeling rather than the sound, right?
Yeah, I think with Slotide, it was the same feeling. I was like, I love a lot of that indie alt pop. Like, I mean, you're Australian. Tame Impala is one of my favorite bands of all time.
Yeah.
At least in the last decade plus. If I think about what bands have come out in the last couple of decade or two that I fucking love, that's one of them. One of many, but like that open space of creating something that, what do I want to hear when I'm in my car? I think about that a lot. Like when I'm driving by myself at night, what do I want to listen to? Like early morning sunrise, like that kind of like Slotide kind of, that's, so I was like, I just want to create something I want to hear in my car.
Yeah. And
then there's the other side of me that sometimes I'm like, I just want to hear something heavy that makes me feel something like emotionally, and that's kind of what we did with the Underoath record. And I think, making a solo record before this maybe helped me open up my brain a little bit. I don't know, or if it's just coincidental, but I'm glad you've heard of Slotide because most people haven't. That's a cool thing. I'm about to release my first, the record's about to finally come out, so that'll be fun.
That was going to be my next question. I was like, when's the record dropping?
I think I had a call today, and so we're going to release 2 more singles and then drop the rest of the record. I'm going to be announcing my first tour, and I think the record's coming out in May.
Fuck
I think. I'm pretty sure.
Excited.
So, and I'm already working on the next one. So this was a really long drawn out process just because of the business got fucked up. and things out of my control. But that's not gonna happen on the second record. It'll be a little more focused as far as releasing goes. Cause I made that record all in one shot. And then for some reason releasing songs has been a nightmare. So yeah, man, I'm stoked. And I'm stoked for people to hear the new Underoath record. That's two things I'm extremely proud of. And I if it's not your cup of tea, I'm fine with that too. You know, like Underoath's at a spot to where we can make music that makes us happy. You know, we just went and played a bunch of shows under a fake name and played the record front to back. It was such a freeing experience. And to see everyone in the room jumping, smiling from ear to ear, moshing, crowd surfing, because we didn't say it was Underoath, was a wild experience. Because I guarantee you, if I would have said, hey, we're going to come play 5 shows, new record only, what do you think would have happened? People would have showed up with their arms like this and been fucking pissed the fuck off. But we never admitted that it was us. We played in masks and long sleeves, so you couldn't tell that it was us. And people found out via Reddit or whatever, putting 2 and 2 together from looking at clues online. And the whole place every night was live. Like the people were having a wonderful time, and not one person was bummed that we didn't play Writing on the Walls or Boy Brush Red, you know, and that was not to make a point. That's not why we did it. It was just an idea we had to help market the record, and we thought it would be fun. But then seeing it through the little holes in my mask of everyone's having a great fucking time, and I know they wouldn't if I said this was Underoath, was a really wild hindsight thing. It was like, wow, this went better than I thought, and also interesting.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? You know, like, like what an experiment that was. Because I know if we would have just gone out there in the clothes we played Underoath songs in and played it, saying it was Underoath, debuting, hear the new record first without, you know, before it comes out, like people would have just been mad. I think that's so weird. That's where we are. And I'm not like, oh, it's Underoath fans are the worst. We have the best fans in the world. I'm just saying that's people that are fans of bands, period. You know, like that's just where we are as people that have had a band that's released more than 2 records. You know, I just feel like that's what people do.
I think, like, especially in our musical climate, like expectation can often be to people's detriment, right? And like, especially when you play in a band that has, you know, a legacy and a deep back catalog, right? People come into hearing about a new Underoath record with a certain amount of baggage and expectations. So being able to play the record from front to back and to use anonymity to kind of free not only yourselves from that baggage, but everyone else, I think is like a really sick thing. And to just like make it a more pure experience. Like you're just here for the music. You don't have any of the baggage. So just fucking let it move you in whatever way it moves you. And that's a fucking cool thing.
It was a great experience. I'm so glad we did that, even though it, you know, everyone got sick and we had flown around the world and as fast as we could to pull it off. But man, that was totally worth it.
Fuck yeah. Well, I'm excited for you guys to be back in Australia with Alexis on Fire and Gel. I'll have links in the episode description for people to get tickets for that. But Spencer, thank you very much for taking time with me. This has been a dope chat.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I know we were supposed to come in 2024, which would have made sense because we were doing the 20th anniversary of Chasing Safety. But we are going to do that. It's the last country to get it, and I know we didn't make it in time. So, although technically we promised we would never play that record front to back after the 20 year until maybe the 30 year or the 40 year, but we are doing it for Australia and then some. Then we'll be playing stuff off the new record and stuff off of Define and other things. So
yeah,
if you're in Australia, yes, we are playing Chasing Safety front to back, but we're also playing Define, Lost songs, the new album songs, and everything in between. You know, we kind of switch it up every night. So yeah, be prepared to fuck around and find out, I guess.
Well, I saw you guys on the Rebirth tour in 2017 where you played They're Only Chasing Safety and Define the Great Line back to back. And that was fucking incredible. So if it's anything like that, I mean, people are in for a good time.
Good. Hell yeah. We're excited.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. All right, Spencer, thank you very much. And I'll leave it there.
All right. Thank you.
Subscribe now to the Pitch of Discontent Patreon to receive access to extended cuts of our bonus episodes, as well as exclusive behind-the-scenes content, monthly Patreon-only episodes, member-only votes, the TPD community chat, and much more.
Go now to patreon.com/tpdpod and join for as little as $5 a month. That link again is patreon.com/tpdpod. Thanks for watching the show.